Imagine you train this incredibly smart AI, right? The kind that runs so much now. But you train it on, well, just viral tweets and clickbait. Slight pause. It turns out the intelligence of these advanced AIs is, surprisingly, pretty fragile. Its core reasoning can actually degrade just from being fed digital junk. Some are calling it AI brain rot.
Welcome to the deep dive. Yeah, today we're unpacking a really interesting set of sources. They show this stark contrast. AI is moving unbelievably fast, but at the same time, its foundation seems, well, kind of brittle. Maybe dangerously so.
Exactly. That fragility is what we want to focus on, sort of cleaning up the information highway, trying to understand where these algorithms are, essentially doom scrolling, and what kind of real measurable damage that does.
And then we'll switch gears, look at the sheer speed of innovation, new abilities, new ways to control it, the whole infrastructure race. And finally, and this is really critical, I think, we'll get into the hidden reality of bias baked right into the training data. And crucially, why most of us just don't see it.
Okay, let's start with that core problem then. AI brain rot. It sounds, I don't know, a bit dramatic, but the research seems to show it's a real quantifiable thing.
Oh, it really is. Think of it like human internet brain rot, but, for algorithms. When a large language model just consumes endless, low-quality, trivial stuff, its ability to actually reason and focus just tanks fast. The researchers looked at this specifically, using two kinds of junk content.
Right. There was the M1 type that's the super viral, clickbaity, short stuff everywhere. And then M2, which they called, low semantic buzzword soup. I mean, I still wrestle with prompt drift myself sometimes, getting generic answers. So this idea really hits home if you're trying to actually use these tools reliably.
And it was that M1, the viral stuff, that did the most damage. The model started doing something the researchers called thought skipping.
Thought skipping?
Yeah, basically just stopping processing complex ideas properly. The model sort of jumps to a conclusion instead of, following the steps.
Wow. And the numbers they reported on this degradation are pretty shocking, actually. For that M1 viral content, reasoning accuracy just plummeted. It went from like 74.9% down to 57.2%. That's a serious hit to basic logic.
It is. And look at long context comprehension, its ability to follow a long conversation or document. That fell even harder. Dropped from 84.4% to just 52.3%. Imagine like a professional losing that much ability just from reading gossip sites for a month. That's the kind of fragility we're talking about.
And it wasn't just their reasoning. The sources said the model's ethical alignment slipped too, and they even saw personality drift. It sounds like a clear dose-response thing. The more junk they got, the worse they performed. Dumber, and frankly, less reliable.
But what's really fascinating and kind of worrying is that the effects stuck around. They did try to fix it.
Yeah, they tried to clean up the data afterwards, retrain the models.
Exactly. But the key finding was even retraining on clean, high-quality data, it only partly fixed the damage. The rot lingered. Seems like the junk data might have actually corrupted the model's core structure, its fundamental wiring.
So if the junk data messes with the model's deepest level, how fundamental is that initial training data then?
It seems like it sets a baseline that's really hard, maybe even impossible, to fully reset later on. Okay, switching gears now. This fragility exists right alongside incredible speed. I mean, the pace of new capabilities launching right now is just immense.
It really is. We're seeing tools pop up that kind of redefine what AI agents can even do. OpenAI just launched something called ChatGPT Atlas. It's basically their first full AI web browser, not just chat.
Right. It's more like an autonomous agent. It's designed to handle complex stuff online for you, like booking flights, comparing documents, basically starting and finishing detailed tasks without you needing to step in.
And then on the efficiency side, you've got things like DeepSeek OCR. This tool apparently makes image-based documents like PDFs 10 times smaller, file size-wise, while keeping like 97% of the original info. That's huge for businesses dealing with lots of data storage costs.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see these shifts reflected in the market, too. There was this recent trading benchmark where different AIs got $10,000 each to manage. Early days, but the results showed DeepSeek 3.1 was up $4,000, while Gemini 2.5 Pro was actually down $3,000. These models are literally competing in finance now.
And remember that story from the UK. Channel 4 aired this documentary, and at the end, the host just casually reveals they were an AI anchor the whole time. I mean, the line between real and synthetic is getting seriously blurry.
That kind of speed needs powerful infrastructure, obviously. On the hardware front, it's super competitive. NVIDIA is still the giant, but China's claiming they have a new analog AI chip that's supposedly 1,000 times faster.
Whoa. Yeah. 1,000 times faster. Imagine scaling to like a billion queries with that kind of speed. That completely changes the game, doesn't it? That's infrastructure really shaping what's possible.
And of course, with these huge capabilities comes the need for much better control. You see OpenAI tightening the guardrails on Sora, their video generator, especially after Hollywood raised concerns about realistic deepfakes.
Makes sense. And YouTube just rolled out a new tool specifically for detecting likenesses, designed to combat AI deepfakes and flag synthetic media automatically. The control tools are racing to keep up with what the AI can do.
At the same time, you've got this big investment in people. Companies like Microsoft, OpenAI, and Anthropic, they're putting $23 million together just to train, 400,000 U.S. teachers on how to use AI tools effectively and responsibly.
So, okay, if you zoom out, look at all these things, the Atlas agent, the super fast chips, the new guardrails, the teacher training. What's the common thread here? What connects these different moves?
I'd say it's about better control and smarter integration. That seems to be the focus for the next wave of AI tools.
Right, that smarter integration idea brings us beyond just basic prompting. We've all had that experience, right? You ask an AI for something complex, something specific, and you just get back generic mush. So what happens when simple one-off prompts just aren't enough anymore?
Yeah, that's where simple prompting falls down. It fails because the AI doesn't really have memory between chats. It starts fresh every single time, forgets the context, forgets your company's style guide, whatever. That's where context engineering comes into play.
Okay, so break down context engineering for us, simple terms.
It's basically giving the AI a kind of permanent organizational memory for specific tasks.
And how does that actually work in practice?
Well, it often uses techniques like retrieval augmented generation or RAG. You're essentially pointing the AI towards a defined, limited set of your own data, like internal manuals or style guides, maybe through system prompts. This stops it from just defaulting to generic web knowledge and gives it consistent, relevant context for your needs.
So why is just relying on simple prompting not good enough for complex or business-related tasks?
Because the AI needs that history, that memory, to give results that are actually relevant and not just generic filler. Now, this whole search for better context for objective information runs smack into another huge problem. Invisible bias. We tend to trust these systems, maybe too much, to be neutral. But what if the bias isn't obvious? What if it's hidden deep inside the data they were trained on?
Yeah, this is where that study from Penn State and Oregon State University comes in. They ran a really quite chilling test looking specifically at whether users can even spot bias when it's baked right into a system that otherwise seems to work fine.
They trained a facial emotion recognition system, but they deliberately skewed the data. They basically taught it that happy equals white faces and sad equals black faces. So a clear systemic racial bias was built in from the ground up.
And the findings on whether people notice this, it's really unsettling. When they tested this bias system, most everyday users just didn't spot the racial bias at all.
Right. Awareness turned out to be highly conditional. It was mainly the black participants who started noticing something was wrong when the AI kept misclassifying emotions on black faces. The really stark part, white participants mostly remained unaware, which, depressingly, means the engineered bias worked exactly as intended. It was invisible to those it didn't negatively affect.
That points to a really deep danger in how much we trust these things. People generally assumed the AI was neutral, objective, even when its output showed clear failures or bias against one group. It really shows how easily systemic bias can hide inside systems we rely on and trust.
So what's the fundamental danger of this invisible yet trusted bias then?
I guess it's that if we can't even see the bias, we end up just automatically handing over our judgment to systems that are fundamentally flawed.
Yeah. So looking back across all these sources, the picture of AI is just full of these contrasts, isn't it? It's incredibly powerful. You've got Atlas agents, potentially 1,000 times faster chips coming, but it's also disturbingly fragile, prone to this brain rot. And as that emotion study showed, it's deeply prone to just reflecting back our own worst biases, often invisibly.
It really feels like it all comes down to the quality of what goes in and how objective that reflection really is. I mean, if AI starts thinking like clickbait because its core programming gets corrupted by junk, and then on top of that, we can't even spot the deep biases in the data we feed it, well, who's actually in control of objective truth then? That's definitely something to chew on this week.
And An excellent thought to end with. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for this deep dive into the source material.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Use this knowledge wisely. Until next time.